In the previous video, we looked at Homer Laughlin toiletware that was made in the late 1890s and early 1900s. Well, now we're in the 1900s, and we're going to look at four shapes: Mingo, Wyoming, Bridal, and Duchess. And each one of those is going to get its own video. So today we're starting off with Mingo. And these four shapes were made during the time that Homer Laughlin was expanding. They were building new plants in East Liverpool. They were building new plants in Knoll. And I sort of said this when we were talking about dinnerware that was made at the same time, the early 1900s, that the more bottle kilns that you had, the more that you could produce. And these four shapes, again, Mingo, Wyoming, Bridal, and Duchess, were made during this time of expansion and when they could have all this great output. So as you see, the table is covered with Mingo shapes, and it's going to be the same with the other three. So you're going to find more of Mingo, Wyoming, Bridal, and Duchess again than any of the previous shapes we've looked at thus far when it comes to toiletware. And you'll also notice there's a wide variety of decorations. We've got underglaze prints, we've got decals, or as they were called in the books back then, or in the listings, decalcomania. We've got filled-in treatments, we've got gold stamp, we've got gold stipple, we've got gold tracings, and we've got combinations of. So let's begin by looking at some gold stamps, because there's a little bit of a tie-in with dinnerware. So we'll start with this Mingo mouth-oor. And you can look at the Mingo shape here. It's somewhat fancy embossed with a segmented handle, typical of wares of this time. And we have this daisy stamp in gold. We'll look at the treatment number. Most of these are going to be in the 2000s. So this is treatment number 2233. Well, this treatment was also used on the Angelus shape, and we see an example here with the same daisy stamp in gold. That is not the norm. As we pan through and look at these treatments, it's not the case that you're going to find these on dinnerware shapes. But when it comes to gold stamps, yes, there is a little bit of overlap. We'll look at another one right here in this Mingo covered soap dish with these little swag-like gold stamps. And then we have a Seneca creamer with the same treatment. Although it's done in a different configuration, they're the same stamps. So again, not a whole lot of overlap between dinnerware and toiletware. There is a little bit of overlap when it comes to art china, which we haven't talked about art china at all quite yet. So we'll get to that eventually. But this treatment is the gypsy treatment. And we see it on a Mingo large-oor, and we've got a basin below with the gypsy decals. You can also find Juno, Currant, Laughlin Blue on toiletware, though not in any great quantity. So we'll look some more at these different patterns, and we'll focus on the mouth-oors since they have the treatment numbers. We have an underglaze print, a lot of filled-in details here. All those colors would have been painted in by hand. Gold stipple on the foot and on the top. Treatment number 2109S. That looks like a 5, but that's actually an S. The S stands for stipple. This one is a rather common treatment on Mingo. Has gold stamps around the mid-body, and then it has more gold stipple going on, and this one is treatment 2173. Now these two have blended tints. And it's with these four shapes of the early 1900s that we start to see a lot of blended tints going on. And you'll notice our treatment numbers thus far have been in the 2000s. Well, with blended tints, they're in the 7000s. And eventually, when we get done with toiletware, we can go back and look at the dinnerware treatment numbers and put it all together, and it all makes sense. Eventually it will. There is a rhyme and reason to these treatment numbers. This one has green blended tint, and when I say blended tint, I mean from top to bottom. It has some gold stamps, it has gold lines, it's got some gold stipple. There's a lot going on with this one, and it is treatment number 7090. Beside it is just plain yellow blended tint, and it is treatment number 7003. We'll jump to this one in the back because this is a pink one. And it's 7004. Again, we will go over these treatment numbers at a later date. Another underglaze print, filled in details, gold trim, 2150. So you're seeing something very common here with these filled in details that are all done by hand. This one is 2096S, a daisy border, again all filled in by hand, gold stippling going on. And this one is called Flag Iris in purple with some gold trim. It is treatment number 2165. Another blended tint with filled in details, gold trim. This one is 7085. So I want to look at the brush faces real quick because we see, again, more blended tint, some with underglaze prints and filled in details. But this one has some nice embossing, and you can see the Mingo type little curly-Q, wavy-like embossing on this particular piece. Sometimes it doesn't show up too well. Sort of like the dinnerware, the fancy embossed shape. Sometimes the strike is weak or it's just the molds are worn out, but every once in a while you'll get something with a pretty good detail to it. Another underglaze print. We have our eagle and lion marking. You're going to find several markings on this. It's going to be general markings. There will be no shape names in any of the toiletwares made by Homer Laughlin. I sort of have to stress that because when we get to Wyoming, that causes some confusion because there are other potteries that did mark their shapes with a Wyoming back stamp, but those are not Homer Laughlin. Soap dish in flow blue with some gold tracings. Rather nice example. And this has the eagle and lion. And a covered chamber pot with some blue blended tint and some heavy gold stippling going on. We'll look in the inside. So I'd mentioned this before, if you find those little stilt marks in there, that little tripod, that's not at all unusual. They were using the inside space to glaze extra items. In the back, with this yellow mums, I believe it is a covered slop jar. So there would have been a slop pail and a slop jar for Mingo. And then we have a set of shaving mugs here. We'll see if we can find another, see one, if there's one with a date code on it. I don't see it. They're all just with Homer Laughlin marks with no date codes. You see a mark like that with no date code, you're talking about, let's say, about 1906 to about 1911 or so. So this is a light blue tint with gold stipple. A simple rose decal on this one with no other decoration. Now this does have a date code. So that's from 1912. So that's a little bit about Mingo. Next time we're going to continue on and look at Wyoming.